Welcome to Yuno and Kenzo Koga.
Where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Subscribe now and awaken with us.
What if the world you experience, the one that feels so solid and out there, what if it isn't just out there? What if your mind is actually helping to create it, moment by moment? Today, we're doing a deep dive into something truly fascinating. It sits right at the crossroads of science and consciousness. We're talking about the observer effect. We're going to explore this really radical idea that maybe consciousness plays a direct, maybe even profound role in shaping the reality we perceive, turning it from something static, something external, into something we're actively participating in bringing about.
Exactly. And our mission for you listening is really to unpack the science behind this, especially, how experiments like the double slit seem to show observation playing this mysterious role. We want to explore why some scientists genuinely think consciousness might shape the material world. We'll look at some real-life examples, too, things like the placebo effect, maybe even manifestation practices, and then, crucially, talk about some practical ways you might use mindful observation to, potentially influence your own reality. The idea is that observation could be way more powerful than you've ever thought.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. Because, from the moment we wake up, the world feels so incredibly solid, right? It's predictable. It feels undeniably real. Like, think about the chair you're sitting on right now, or maybe the coffee in your cup, the ground under your feet. They seem to exist totally independently of us. Like, they're just there, whether we look or not.
That's how it feels. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It seems completely self-evident. But what if that solidity, that predictability we perceive, what if it's, in some deep way, kind of an illusion of perception? Our sources talk about this as a kind of reality paradox, this real tension between our everyday feeling of a solid, independent world and this really provocative suggestion from science that maybe reality at its core actually depends on an observer.
That immediately makes me think of that old question, the philosophical one. If a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? And I think most people instinctively say, well, yeah, of course, sound waves exist regardless. But the question here is deeper than just sound waves, isn't it?
Oh, much deeper. Exactly. The implication, if you really push it, isn't just about the sound waves existing as a physical phenomenon. It's whether the event itself, the tree falling and making a sound, actually becomes a definite perceived reality without a conscious observer there to, observe it. It throws into question whether events, as we understand them, truly happen or become real if they're completely unobserved. Does it only become definite when perceived? It's a bit mind-bending.
Right. And this isn't just philosophy anymore. Amazingly, when we look at quantum physics, we find actual experiments, real evidence that challenges these basic assumptions about reality and observation. This is where things get really, really interesting.
They absolutely do. And the classic example, the one that kind of break everything open, is the double-slit experiment. So picture this. Physicists are firing tiny particles like electrons one at a time. They're aiming them at a barrier that has two incredibly narrow slits in it. Think of it like shooting tiny marbles towards two open doorways.
Okay, so if they're like little marbles, you'd expect them just to go through one slit or the other, right? And they'd hit a screen behind the barrier, making two distinct lines, like where the marbles hit.
That's exactly what classical physics would predict. But here's the absolutely wild part. When they fire these particles one by one, and crucially, when nobody looks or measures which slit they go through, they don't act like solid little marbles at all. They act like waves. They seem to spread out, and on the screen, behind the slits, they create what's called an interference pattern. It looks just like the ripples you'd see if you drop two pebbles in a pond, waves overlapping, canceling out in some places, reinforcing in others. It's as if each single electron somehow passed through both slits simultaneously.
Wow. Both slits. At the same time, even though it's fired as a single particle.
Yeah. Like it exists as a wave of possibilities until it actually hits that final screen.
That's hard to wrap your head around. Okay, so what happens when they do look? When they put some kind of detector right at the slits to see which one the electron actually goes through?
Now that is the core of the observer effect. The moment you put a detector there, the moment you try to observe which path the particle takes, everything changes. Suddenly, the particles stop acting like waves. Poof, gone. They behave exactly like those tiny solid marbles you were imagining. Each particle goes through only one slit or the other, one definite path, and the interference pattern on the screen, it completely disappears. It's replaced by just two distinct lines, exactly where you'd expect marbles to land.
So wait, It's the exact same experiment, the same particles, the same slits. The only difference is whether someone or something is watching which slit it goes through.
That's precisely it. The act of observation or measurement seems to fundamentally alter the behavior of the particle. It forces it out of its wave-like state of possibilities into a single, definite state.
That just feels deeply weird. It really shakes up our basic idea of how the world works, that things just are what they are, whether we're looking or not.
It is deeply weird. This is what's known as wave-particle duality. It's this strange, paradoxical truth that quantum entities can be either a wave spread out in possibilities or a localized particle, a solid object. And it seems to depend entirely on whether or not they're being measured or observed. It really challenges that classical view of a fixed reality.
And this whole thing, this strange behavior, this apparent choice the particle makes only when observed, this leads directly to a huge puzzle in physics, right? The measurement problem.
Exactly. That's the crux of it. Why? Why does the act of measuring or observing cause this collapse? Why does this cloud of probability suddenly snap into one single definite outcome? It's not just a minor detail. It's a fundamental question about how quantum mechanics relates to the reality we experience. There's no universally agreed upon answer.
Okay, so no single answer, but are there theories? Where does consciousness come into this?
Right. So there are various interpretations trying to explain this. Some don't involve consciousness at all, like theories about environmental interaction causing the collapse, or even the many worlds idea where every possibility just happens in a separate universe.
Right.
But there's also a significant interpretation, though definitely still debated, that proposes consciousness itself. The very act of a conscious being observing and becoming aware is what's actually required to collapse that wave function.
So the idea is that our awareness is the catalyst that turns possibilities into a solid reality.
That's the provocative suggestion from this particular viewpoint. It implies the universe isn't just some giant clockwork mechanism running entirely on its own. Instead, it might be more like a participatory reality. Some of the sources use that phrase, suggesting that mind and matter are somehow deeply entangled.
Entangled. So my consciousness isn't just a passive receiver, like a camera recording a pre-existing world.
According to this view, no. It suggests your consciousness is actively involved in the process of reality becoming definite. You're not just watching the movie. You're somehow participating in its projection.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge leap from the quantum lab. Does this idea show up anywhere else? Like, are there hints of this in our everyday lives?
Well, that's where it gets really intriguing. Obviously, the effects aren't as dramatic or clear-cut as in the double-slit experiment. We're talking about much larger scales, complex systems, psychology. But some sources suggest we can see subtle echoes, maybe reflections, of this principle, this idea that observation and intention influence reality playing out in human experience.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, think about intention and expectation.
Yeah.
Our sources mention how powerfully these can shift our actual experience. Like, if you walk into a meeting expecting everyone to be difficult or hostile.
You often find exactly that, don't you?
You do. You interpret ambiguous expressions as negative. You hear criticism where maybe none was intended. Your expectation literally seems to color or maybe even shape the reality you perceive in that room.
Exactly. And conversely, if you go in expecting cooperation or kindness, you tend to notice those things more. You interpret things more positively. Now, of course, a lot of this is psychology, cognitive biases, how our brain filters information. That's undeniable. But the deeper question some sources raise is whether these psychological patterns might also be tapping into something more fundamental, like our internal state, somehow tuning us to perceive or even attract certain kinds of experiences, almost like influencing the quantum fabric of possibilities around us, but on a macro level.
And the placebo effect fits right in here, doesn't it? That's a really powerful example. You give someone a sugar pill, tell them it's strong medicine, and they genuinely believe it. And their body responds. They actually experience real physiological changes, genuine healing responses. It's not just in their head psychologically.
Yeah.
Their belief, their expectation triggers actual physical changes. The mind literally alters the body's reality.
It's incredible. It really is. And then you have things like manifestation practices. Now, this is obviously a very debated area, and we're not talking about magic wands here. But the idea is that sustained mental focus, clear intention, maybe visualization, it seems, for some people, to align them with opportunities or lead to outcomes that feel surprising. Again, you can explain much of it through psychology, priming yourself to notice opportunities, boosting motivation. But some proponents feel it hints at a deeper resonance, where focused consciousness might subtly influence the probability field around us.
So, putting all this together, if our consciousness, our attention, our intention can influence reality, even in these subtle, everyday ways, not just in the quantum realm, then our thoughts and where we place our focus are way more powerful than we usually give them credit for. That has huge implications for personal growth, right?
Absolutely enormous implications.
Yeah.
It fundamentally shifts how you see yourself in the world. Instead of being just a passive observer, just receiving whatever life throws at you, the sources suggest you're actually an active participant in the unfolding story of your life. You're not just watching the play. You're on the stage, maybe even helping write the script.
Which means the way we observe the things we expect, how we engage with the world, it could literally be shaping our personal reality as we go. That gives us a lot more agency, potentially, than we might think, moving from just watching to actually co-creating.
That's the essence of it. So if this idea resonates, if you're thinking, okay, maybe my observation does matter, how can you actually use this? How can you apply mindful observation to potentially influence your own reality? We pulled out a few practical strategies based on these ideas.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
The first is simply mindful observation. This isn't just about chilling out. It's about consciously directing your focus. Like the detector in the experiment, choosing what aspect of the possibility field of your experience you bring into sharp focus.
How do you do that practically?
Just spend a few minutes each day really noticing something without judgment. Maybe watch a leaf fluttering in the breeze outside your window. Really see its movement, its color, or listen intently to the sounds around you, the hum of the fridge, bird song, traffic. Just observe the details. Be fully present with what is, without layering stories or meanings onto it immediately. It's like training your attention muscle.
Okay, mindful observation. Got it. What's next?
The second is intentional framing. So before you walk into a situation, maybe it's a meeting you're nervous about, or a conversation you expect to be tricky, or even just starting your day, take just a moment beforehand to set a clear intention. How do you want to experience this? What energy or quality do you want to bring to it? It's not about forcing a specific outcome onto others, but more about tuning your own awareness, your own emotional state, your receptivity. You're consciously choosing the lens through which you intend to perceive and interact.
Right, so you're setting your internal detector before you go in. And the third one?
A third one, really useful, is what we could call a reality check-in. When something happens that surprises you or maybe disappoints you, something that doesn't go the way you expected, just pause. Before you react automatically, ask yourself, okay, wait, how might my perception right now, my own expectations or my current feeling state be influencing how I'm experiencing this? It helps you disentangle pure observation from your interpretation and consider if shifting your internal lens might actually change your experience of the situation.
That's a good one. Kind of stepping back and checking your own contribution to the experience.
Exactly. So look, whether consciousness is definitively the key that collapses quantum possibilities into reality, well, the debate continues in physics. But one thing seems really clear from all the sources, from quantum physics to psychology. The way you observe the world fundamentally changes the way the world unfolds for you.
That alone is a powerful idea. So in that sense, whether it's quantum or psychological or both, you are always creating, always shaping your experience through the lens of your awareness.
You really are. It's happening all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not.
That feels incredibly empowering, actually, realizing you might have that much influence.
It absolutely can be. So maybe the final invitation here, drawing from everything we've explored, is this. Live as if your attention truly is precious because it shapes your experience. Observe the world as if your gaze actively weaves the fabric of your reality and choose deliberately, moment by moment, the reality, the quality of experience you most want to step into and embody.
Because maybe, just maybe, your mind isn't only watching the story of your life unfold, maybe it's actually helping to write it.
Thanks for watching the Yuno and Kenzo Koga channel. If this video sparked something within you, feel free to like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more insights bridging Eastern wisdom and modern life. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, and stay connected.